where we made kind of, yes, we taught people how to play, but that live chat where people got to sweat and ask questions along the way. I try to reproduce that in some way, and I just fail every time. I don't want to say fail. It's just different. It's a different dynamic. And yes, I still want to try to do those late sweats, those live sweats, as the slate rolls down. And I'm going to do that. I swear to you, I'm going to do that. I've just been busy. But maybe, just maybe today, I'll do something really, really dumb. And just basically just leave my whole computer running and let you guys just kind of sweat all the results as they come in. And as I kind of, have to come back to do lineups and check on things and update, you could just be a part of that, I guess, and kind of ask questions along the way. I mean, it really doesn't matter to me. I mean, honestly, this is all about transparency and stuff like that. So we might try that. That's very possible. And I'm not going to be at the computer all day, so what I'm going to do is when I'm not here doing stuff, I'll just leave the lobby running, and you could see, how I'm doing, I suppose, or maybe I'll just leave it on the NFL DK Millie Maker slate or something like that. I'll just kind of do something where I don't know. And if people ever want to just check in and see how I'm doing, maybe they'll see a different screen up, maybe they'll see horse racing going on or whatever it is. Nonetheless, we are going to try it and see how that goes. By the way, thank you for all the birthday wishes that I had this past week. Awesome birthday, my family and different shifts. And the other night I went to I'm embarrassed to say, but quite a huge, been to quite a number of They Might Be Giants concerts, so to speak. And I think it was my 56th, believe it or not, at the Bowery Ballroom in New York, which was awesome. I mean, these guys have been just doing it for a long time, and believe it or not, I was not the oldest person there. There were about 5 to 10 people, maybe more, that were older than I was, and the age range ranged from literally 21 right up to my age, which is older than that. Yeah, that football game last night was just surreal. I mean, and the funny thing, did anybody have any doubt? Well, at what point, honestly, I mean, listen, you really wouldn't have done this, but when that got to 27-14, did anybody have any doubt what was going to happen? I mean, look, first of all, 27-0, they didn't go for it on 4th and something. And then all of Twitter just destroyed Peterson. And then they got that touchdown to make it 27-7. It was like, oh yeah, great. Finally. But once they made that 27-14, I mean, I don't know exactly what the live odds were, but in the real world, it was basically even money. I mean, it really, obviously it wasn't even money, but you just knew. You just knew it was going to happen. I mean, it's ridiculous. And I will say something else. I mean, it's so funny to hear how Twitter just kind of just destroys somebody, and then next thing you know, they forget they destroyed them and things like that. And I want to call one guy out. I want to call out CJ, which was Siege. I mean, he's awesome. I love Siege. He's one of my favorite content providers, for a long, long, long time. And when it was 4th and 1 down at the end there, and they went, and even the announcer, got to run this play right away, take the first down, whatever, and then they called a timeout. Okay, and when they called a timeout at 4th and 1, Siege went on there, like, you got to be an idiot to call a timeout here. Why would you properly call a timeout? And basically he called a timeout and ran what I thought was one of the best plays I've ever seen. Okay, and I'm gonna explain to you why. First of all, Doug Peterson, he was already kind of famous for another ridiculous play from the Super Bowl, the Philly special, which basically everybody competes right now. I just want to put in perspective how awesome that 4th and 1 play was. So during the course of the season, that quarterback sneak play, which I guess the Philly team just kind of popularized, but everybody's now doing it, essentially became an unstoppable play, right? Where you have the quarterback line up as a quarterback sneak, you put 2 guys behind him, You snap it to the quarterback, and then they just push him over. It literally is just an unstoppable play, to the point where I'm telling you, I must have posted 5 different times on Twitter that I would bet that next year that play gets outlawed. Okay, like that's literally like how impossible a play that is to stop when it's done right. Now, I did see somebody stop it once last week, but it's like a ridiculous play to allow, to have everybody just stand behind the quarterback and push the guy. It's just you can't stop it. And when he called timeout and he just kind of ran that kind of fake unstoppable play and had the end around, I mean, that was just, I mean, listen, they'll probably lose the next round. Everybody will forget about it, but that was awesome, and that's why he called the timeout, and good for him. In any case, so that's what's going to happen today. With respect to content, we're gonna see how it goes. I mean, there's a lot going on today, and we'll just see. So what we're gonna do is, I guess, I build most of my lineups today. So I guess I'm just gonna start with just what I'm doing, and we could just start with that. You can fire off questions. I think I want to start with, NFL and PGA both start at the same time. So we'll start. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna a little bit more in depth on that. And then maybe I'll come back a little later and update, as the NBA lineups kind of get, a little bit clearer. But first of all, with respect to golf, first of all, I wanted to show you guys kind of what I'm sweating here. I mean, Sanjay M, he's the worst. I mean, he really is the worst. I mean, if he made the cut, that would have been like legendary. I mean, I would be in such amazing shape. But I do have one kind of lineup that is sort of live for the cheese, and we'll pull that up just so you guys know what to root for. And then I want to talk about Showdown for a minute, but first I want to pull this one lineup up. So this one, hold on, this one is in 30. Where is this? We're gonna do the whole screen, so we're gonna go this screen. Where is this? All right, so yeah. So this one is in 35th place out of 70, out of 35,208. Like right now it's cashing for 420, but you know how it goes, like just a couple of putts here and there. Then this can win 200,000. So here's what we're rooting for. This is the one. We got Buckley in first, Kirk in second. But again, the upside are these other guys, right? So Connors, he can go up the ladder a little bit. Ladder can go up. Henley can go up the ladder. If McCarthy gets hot, he's lower owned. Poston, I mean, he's not going to do much for me. I mean, because he's high owned and he doesn't have too much, finishing position upside, whatever. And these Buckley and Kirks, I mean, they gotta hang in there. But hey, you never know. So this is what we're rooting for over here. So basically, I guess the pivot guy is McCarthy. So if you see McCarthy kind of rolling, we'll kind of touch base on that. So these guys all don't start until 120. Yeah, I don't know, BBF. If you saw my video this week, I really recommended that all those guys get faded, and then I just didn't do it. I mean, it was just too easy to get them in. To remember Poston, we thought was a total smash play. We thought Kirk was an awesome play, and he ended up 8% owned, and it just didn't have it in me to leave 4,000 on the table. Which is probably what I would have done if I faded both Kim and Sanjay M. But hey, you live and learn. And it's not the highest price players can be faded off, which they can, but in tournaments like this, where the highest price players really aren't that much better than these other guys. Yeah. So with that said, I do want to talk just for a minute. I mean, listen, these slates don't start for 2 hours in the NFL. You guys can wait. I want to talk. I want to pull up my projections for the Showdown slate today, because I literally don't understand this. I posted it last night. I was hoping it would just kind of be different. Not so much the projections, but more the salary. I mean, I just don't quite get what the hell's going on here. So remember the way Showdown works, right? I mean, you get a lot of points for position. And as I mentioned earlier, this is not a great field. I mean, what's the real difference between Hayden Buckley and Corey Connors or Brian Harmon? Is really not that much. And I have all these guys rated really high, and because Connors, Montgomery, Harmon, I don't understand the salaries here at all. Like, let me pull this up. Hold on. Let's pull up upcoming by sport. I don't want NBA. Let's pull up, as you see, I'm playing a shitload today. Okay, so just to pull up the salaries for a second. I mean, Brian Harmon is in 57th place at 10,200. I mean, I can't imagine playing a single share of him. Yeah, I know maybe he's better and maybe he'll be low owned or something like that and get some birdies and he'll be, listen, you want to make the case? All right, the case is he's in 57th. He has nothing to lose. He may as well just try for birdies and whatever. How do you play this? And this is like ridiculous. And Corey Connors at 32nd. He's at 10-1. I'm playing the slate and I'm playing all these guys that are in the top 10. I'm just doing it. I just don't see the big difference between, say, a Lipsky and a Taylor Montgomery, for example, in one slate on one card. So I don't know. I see, like here in my world, like guys like Hayden Buckley and Kirk and these guys are in first and second on this slate should at this price should be like 70% owned. I mean, honestly, but what do I know? Yesterday in the MMA, this was literally beyond. So I don't know if anybody on this particular chat follow MMA. So there was a guy on the slate, David Argueta, and I went over this in depth in my my MMA breakdown, who due to a salary misprice because there was a replacement fighter, he was a minus 500 fighter with just as good of an inside the distance prop as anybody else on the slate, who was priced as if he was like a minus 150 favorite. He literally should have been 100% owned mathematically. It's just ridiculous. And I figured that some people might fade him just because, they want to get a little different. So maybe it would be like 70% owned. But he was like 40%. I mean, it was, listen, these guys can lose, but at some point you just have to just go with the math on some of these things. And that was a joke. I mean, honestly, it turns out like, I didn't get everything else right, but sometimes you just have to take the free square. And for me, if you're going to play the showdown slate, I mean, that's what I would do. I would just play all these top 10 guys that are cheap, like Siwoo Kim 8,800. I mean, look at some of these guys down here. I mean, you got Nate Lashley is T7 at 6,400. And I really don't think that those guys are any worse. I mean, they're a little worse, but what's the difference between that and someone like JJ Spawn at 95? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's kind of, listen, I've spent a grand total of what, 0 minutes on PGA Showdown slate since we started True DFS, but I figured it was important enough on this today to make this point. So anyway, so that's what I'm doing in PGA Showdown. I may as well just show my full ownership. Let's just see. Let's see what this is. Let me see if I can show it here. Let's see. I don't care. I'll show my left. So I have a 60% Kuchar, you know what I mean? Like 62% Ben Taylor, guys like that. Well, you say that Adam Perry's duplication, but that again presumes that they're going to be high owns, right? I don't know. I just we'll just see about that. We'll just see. We'll just see. Yeah, absolutely. Duplication is. I'll tell you this. I don't know how much you played Showdown PGA, like fourth round. I don't think I've ever had a duped lineup. Really, there are just too many guys. There's 76 freaking guys, and I don't think I've ever had a dupe lineup. Just using Saber Sim and just setting it to Saber Score or whatever it is, and using my projections. I get enough nonsense where it makes it work. So I don't know. Well, we'll just see. As a matter of fact, we are going to see. This is what I did. I actually ran my stuff with Saber Sim and just kind of let it run, sort of. And I'll probably tweak it maybe a little bit just to have some integrity with this. But I want to see exactly how my duplication works out. Let's see. Golf Showdown is so variant that I don't know if there's going to be that much duplication, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Well, yeah, the field size is going to be probably a bit smaller because of the NFL, which is true, as is everything. But one of the reasons it's going to be smaller is it's also going to be softer. Who's paying attention to this? So that's first of all. So that's going to be my entire rant or PGA Showdown coverage. But what I will do is let's take a look and see when these guys tee off. Like these guys all tee off around. When's the last guy tee off? When is this one supposed to end? So if it tees off at hour 45, so this ends at 8 o'clock tonight. Does that sound about right? In any case, as this kind of goes down to the wire, depending on what time it is relative to the rest of the slate, I'm going to pop back in. There's going to be a live sweat with something. You know what I mean? Like whether it be PGA Showdown or NFL Showdown or the 2-game slate or the 1-game slate or the NBA or whatever it is. And oh yeah, we're getting there, Adam. We're totally getting there. We're going to go through everything. I mean, I will touch on everything, at least something. And feel free to ask questions about literally everything, including horse racing, which I'm going to go over also. So I will be back throughout the day at some strategic time. And in the future, I'm going to be a little more calculated about when I'm going to be back. But listen, you have the NBA that starts at 6, NHL that starts at 5. And that also coincides with the break between the 1 o'clock game and the 4:30 game. So maybe at 4:15, I'll pop in, maybe sweat the end of the first game. Maybe somebody's live in the showdown. And at that time we can go over some late NBA news or late NHL news or something like that and kind of do it that way. And then we'll just see how it goes. But that's golf. That's my golf showdown discussion. And we will be back to sweat that a little bit later. Okay, so NFL for today. Let's talk about first the Saturday main slate. So basically what I did, and this is like the process. I updated my projections. I did tweak a little bit, and then what I did was I uploaded them into SaberSim. And I ran. I'm going to be playing 50 lineups or so in the Millie Maker, the 3-game slate. And one thing that I did, so I built my lineups like this, and then when I went, Then when I went and I did is I went into first of all, I went into players and I did kind of a sanity check. Like there are certain guys that I just didn't want to play. Okay. And the concept behind that is someone pointed out, so Brian Brooks is saying John Brown, for example. My concept with playoffs, which I went over in the last last video I did with Bobby, was that the playoffs are no joke and they're just not going to give these ancillary guys that much action. Why would they? So I'm just basically Xing those dudes out of classic slates. We'll talk about maybe what to do with Showdown, but I just went into SaberSim and whatever I got for dudes like that, like Josh Brown or something like that, I just X them out, and Kahil Shakir, Trenton Irwin, guys like that. I mean, I just X them out of classic slate. I'll keep them in Showdown, but that's what I did. I X them out. The next thing that I did was I went into stack types and see what kind of builds I got. In other words, this is my end build. What I got when I first ran my builds was I was getting some QB plus 5s, some QB plus 4s. Now the QB plus 5s were usually coming from the Giants, right? Because you had all those cheapos. You'd get like Daniel Jones, Daniel Bellinger, Hodgins, Richie James, and Barkley. You know what I mean? For example, and I guess Giants defense, they count that sometimes. But so I obviously didn't want to do that. And my real question was whether I wanted to X out the QB plus 4s. And if it were a 2-game slate, I would keep them. But because it was a 3-game slate, I X'd them out. Okay, so if you ran SaberSim with my sheets, you would get some QB plus fives and QB plus fours, but the QB plus fours I thought were a little bit too ambitious on this slate. So I X'd those guys out. Okay, so any stacks with QB plus fours or higher, I X'd out. And this is basically what I was left with. Okay, so now what we do is we kind of look through it. So you asked. And not surprisingly, the majority of what I'm getting is from that Minnesota Giants game. All right. As they say as they used to say in my part of the world when I was old, when I was this age, duh. Right. I mean, this is the total, which is the highest. It is the game which projects to be the closest, and not to say the same thing twice, but it's got the nicest weather, which is one of the reasons why it projects the highest. And yes, Travis, I will play QB plus 3 with no problems. I play QB plus 3s on 15 game slates. I'm certainly going to do it on 3. So yeah. So I'm getting a whole bunch of Giants and reverses and Minnesotas and all this stuff, and it's all the guys that you've heard of, the Justin Jeffersons, TJ Hawkinsons, Barkleys, Richie James, Hodgins, all those guys. And that's the deal. If you want to break them down by tight ends, there it is. Hawkinson, my top owned tight end, So that's the main piece is the Giants Minnesota game. And for me, it's 50% Giants and Vikings, 20% Giants. And then not surprisingly, this should be nothing earth-shattering. Then Buffalo would be my next highest owned stack. I think that if you eyeball this, you might suggest that, boy, maybe your Cincinnati exposure is a little light at only 5%. And and that makes sense. To that, I just kind of respond. I mean, you just can't have everything, you could, but you know what? If I played like 15%, I could do this. I could set minimum exposure 15% Bengals. And then what would happen is it would reduce my Minnesota probably. And what that would get you is, it's a little safer way to play. But what it also does is it reduces the amount of combinations you're going to get out of these Minnesota guys. Like, it happens all the time. You play Minnesota's my top stack, but I didn't have enough of the, Cousins, KJ Osborne with, Hawkinson, but no Jefferson stack or something like that. And, I have no problem taking the big 50% exposure to increase the amount of combinations that I'm going to get to over here. Now, to answer your question, about the Irv Smith, someone brought into that, I'm just going to tell you what I did. I X'd him out. And I was getting to him. I was getting, a 5% exposure, a 10% exposure. But I'm going back to that concept that this is the playoffs and there's no screwing around. TJ Hawkinson has been getting 100 targets a game. I expect him to get 100 targets here. Justin Jefferson has been getting 100 targets a game. I expect him to get 100 targets here, and then some kind of mix of Thielen and the other guy. The other guy that I'm getting, that I got to, honestly, and then I just X'd out was Madison. I think that in a regular season game, I think it would be on a 2 or 3 game slate. I think it'd be worth a shot to play Madison. But I just think that it's the playoffs and they're just going to lean on all their guys. And that's it. The other thing I would say, by the way, Adam, about your thing about running out the clock, whatever it is, one thing also that you do see, by the way, in playoffs, and again, I can't prove this because I haven't really thought about it in like a long time, but there was like a whole stretch of games in the Super Bowl, like when I was, my first 20, 30 years watching these, where every game was a blowout, and it just didn't matter what the spread was. Like if you won the game, like you always covered, they blew the team out. And that happened in the playoffs too. And one of the reasons for that was that, listen, if a team is like behind and they know it's like their last game and whatever it is, they do tend to give up sometimes. Like when they just know they're not coming back, and then so games can get out of hand in the playoffs. So I'm not too worried about that. About the teams running it out. I feel as though that the teams are going to score their points, and I just don't think that like Dalvin Cook rests, for example. I just don't think so. And listen, we just saw it. We saw it yesterday, right? We saw a team that was up 27 points that kind of like sat on it a little bit, and you saw what happened, right? I don't think anybody wants to be Staley. There's only one, and I don't listen. Minnesota came from 100 points back in a game a few weeks ago. I just think that people are just going to keep the hammer on as much as possible. That's my opinion. So that's where I'm at with this main slate. Feel free to ask questions. And Danny Dimes, I mean, listen, you're asking kind of like individual plays, which is kind of cool, which is nice. And yeah, and what I'm going to do is I am going to play one big buy-in, and I'm just basically going to gaze at my lineups and see which ones I kind of like the most. Let's see what some of these Daniel Jones lineups are. I mean, like this one looks totally reasonable, right? Like look at this like second one on the list here. You got Daniel Jones with whatever. Okay, I'll get to you in a second. With Barkley, Hodgins. I mean, these guys all make sense. I mean, these are all like reasonable plays. I mean, this is kind of different, playing Ahmed with the Dolphins defense. I don't think people were expecting that too much. So that could be a little bit different. Adam, you're asking, and we'll get to Miami Showdown in a second. Are you doing the same thing in the higher dollar, smaller field NFL main? I don't think, again, I'm going to play one lineup. I think I'm doing that right now. I'm playing one lineup, and that's grudgingly. I don't really like these tournaments, the big one. I shouldn't say that because I've done really well in them. But I always feel as though I'm just kind of, I don't want to not say dead money. I always feel as though people are better than me at these things, at those big buy-in NFL slates. Maybe that's an illusion, but that's what I'm doing. I'm playing one lineup in each of them, just because there are only so many NFL slates left. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to literally gaze at these things and see which one I like the most. I mean, like you see this one here on this Daniel Jones with Barkley, Hodgins, and then kind of a little bit of contrarian stuff with Ahmed and Dolphins defense. I think this is like. I'm not saying this is necessarily the lineup I'm going to play, but this is like a reasonable lineup. And that's the thing about the NFL. Like all of them look like reasonable lineups. Like this one looks a little different, right? You get two Miami running backs. I mean, I don't know who's playing that. But that's interesting. So I don't really know exactly if I had to narrow it down an NFL lineup to one lineup, what I would like. That's one of the reasons why I don't do them so much. Like NFL, I'm really kind of a portfolio guy. I like a whole bunch of them. I really can't prioritize one over the other. I really don't like. I just can't do it. NBA, I can look and say, "Ooh, I like this one," and I'm going to put it in. And it took me a long time to do. I mean, I didn't play the big buy-in NBA stuff until like this year. I mean, even like I still don't like playing it all that often, although I've been doing better at it. So Clay is saying, "Do I cap my ownership?" Do I cap my ownership? The answer is usually no. And again, the usual comments depends on the slate. It depends on everything. It depends on the sport. In NFL, on this type of slate, I do not want to cap my ownership because, again, if you get really overweight one guy, you may seem like you're taking a lot of risk to do that. But considering like all the different people playing these contests, to the need to get it perfect is really big. So if you can get away with 100% owned guy, it avails you of so many of these other combinations to get that optimal. So I do not cap my ownership in NFL. I just don't, especially in MME. Well, that's what he meant, right? In MME. So yeah, I don't. So let me take a look. I'll show you what I did for Miami Showdown. Let's take a look at that. So what I did the main question that I usually have when I do my showdown builds is really the main question is how much I'm going to leave on the table. That's literally the primary question that I ask myself when I do these slates is how much am I leaving on the table? Right. So I just usually don't know the answer. It's always got to be something. It's got to be either I fiddle around with 48.8, I fiddle around with 49.2, I fiddle around with 49.5. there's a slate where like there are obvious cheapos which show up throughout the season, like you have like this, like remember when Randall Cobb was 200 or these other guys were 200, then I won't set any minimum, max salary because I'm going to get like a lot of guys, money left on the table anyway. But on this particular slate, I literally just made it up and I said 49.5, I think, and I thought that was going to be good enough. JJ, I don't really like the likely spot here. Again, same concept. I think that it's just all going to go to Andrews. And yeah, you can get like maybe a target or two or a catch or two out of likely, but I don't know. Listen, I'm getting to him in my builds. I'm just, in full disclosure, just not going to do it. I don't think. Okay, so that's what I do. So I figured out how much I do as far as the whatever. I load my projections in and I fire. And then what I do is I look at, first of all, the captain spot, because sometimes Saber Sim will just give you these captains that I'm just not interested in, The one guy on the showdown slate, which I have to imagine is going to be really high owned. This ownership just doesn't make any sense. Maybe in the captain, but Ahmed at 400 or whatever, he's 200. That's a little ridiculous. So I imagine that he's going to be really, really high played, but we'll see. But that's to me is the obvious cheapo in this game. But in general, all right, we'll get back to my builds in a minute. Adam, when you're saying are you concerned about the low total thing? I'm not concerned about that necessarily at all. And this is what I've been talking about this a lot. So you have an implied team total of 26 to 15 or something like that. So you have Buffalo by 11 and a 41 team total. So what people usually do in a situation like that is they take just literally one game script and overbet that. When it seems really obvious, like you're going to see a lot of people, I think, go just Buffalo, 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 and one Miami. Buffalo, 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 Miami. They're going to play it like a Buffalo game, right? A 26. They'll play it like a 33 to 15 game, or they'll play it like a 26 to 6 game, right? They're not going to play too much. This is my usual take on the Miami possibility. Just because the median is 26-15 doesn't mean it can't be 26-20. For example, or 31-20, for example, So I think that the Miami sides of these are usually going to be under bet. However, I think in this particular slate, it's not going to work that way because, first of all, you have these well-known guys on Miami, that being Hill and Waddle, and I think people are just going to want to play these guys. I don't care what the spread is. I don't care who's quarterback. People are going to play these guys. And so I don't think they're going to be particularly unpopular. And likewise with Ahmed at 200, I think people are going to want to play him too. So I don't think you're going to get that same dynamic. So I hope I answered your question in that usually when you have like either like when you have one like kind of obvious game script, people are going to overbet that game script. But I think just in this dynamic of these two teams, I think that the Miami plays are so kind of obvious that I think people are going to play them. So I just run my shit, and then go through these, first of all, the captains and see what I'm getting. And then I'm like, I'll play an Ahmed captain. I mean, why not? Right? I mean, he's 200. If he scores a touchdown, then opens up all the rest of your lineups. I mean, let's go, There are other guys I got to, like John Brown. Like you mentioned John Brown. And I'll tell you, I got to like literally all of these guys. Like I got to John Brown. I got to, what's his name? Quinton Moore. I mean, literally all these wide receivers that whatever. I got to all of them. Reggie Gilliam. I got to some River Crackcraft, at 400 when I first ran my builds, but I just didn't do it. Okay. So that's up to you guys. I mean, if you want to play those guys, if you want a SaberSim build, you are going to get to some of them. But for me, that's not for me. So I just kind of ran with this. Then I just do a sanity check and make sure I don't have way too much of anything else. I have 40% Bills defense. That definitely seems a little egregious, but whatever. I don't care. That's fine. Like I said, I'm not going to cap my ownership, especially in Showdown. I am getting like a couple of Shakirs and all this stuff in the flex. I guess I'll just kind of keep those. You know what? Maybe I'll do. Maybe I will get rid of the Cole Beasley. When's the last time he played? 3 lineups? Yeah, maybe we'll get rid of him. So maybe we'll make that change if I didn't already. Let's just see. Do I actually have a Cole Beasley? I don't think I have him. Actually, I might. Let's see. Let me see. Has Cole Beasley played a snap? Yeah, I mean he's got a snap. Yeah, I mean I don't mind having a couple with him just in case he gets in there. I mean, remember, Showdown is a little different. Okay, so and that's basically what I'm doing in Showdown. I'm running my projections, doing a sanity check, and then I'll look at my stack types. I'm like a bunch of 4-2s. I listen. I am getting a bunch of 5-1s. And that's just kind of the way it's going to be. Which is fine. Sometimes, and I have different guys with the Miami. I got the Waddle. I got some Waddle. I got some Wilson. I have some Tyreek Hill. I got some Dolphins defense, even just for fun. Who knows? Yeah. So that is what I'm doing with respect to the Showdown slate of the Miami and Buffalo. I guess now what I do want to look at that late game as well. Again, I will be back, but just in case I'm not, I just want to show you what I did for that Showdown slate with Giants Minnesota. And once again, yeah, we'll do NHL next. But let's do NFL first. We'll finish this, and then I'll do a very small look at the late Showdown slate. But I will be back at some point. Then we'll do some NHL and then some NBA. Same deal with the Giants game. I just uploaded my projections. I fired it, and then I whatchamacallit. And then I fired it, and then I whatchamacallit. And then I just did a sanity check. Same thing. I think I left 500 on the table. And with the Giants captains, I have no problem with any of these cheap receivers as captains. I would even play the kickers as captains. I just kind of ran with it. And again, just do a sanity check. Make sure I don't have anybody that really has no chance. Like for Matt Breida, for example, I'll play him a lineup or two, but that's pretty much it, As a matter of fact, I am going to probably just make sure that I don't have too much of I got one lineup with Kager, for example, but I'll probably go in and just kind of, tweak this just kind of a little bit. As a matter of fact, let's do this now. So yeah, I might keep a Kager in, and I might keep a Brightwell in, but these other guys, I mean, there's just no need to play stuff like this, like Jalen Naylor, CJ Ham. I'm going to throw in because every once in a while, he'll just kind of stick one in my face. Okay. So let's then apply this, change our lineups. We'll just fix that. Again, I will remember, but just in case I forget, change these lineups for now. And then Showdown, Vikings, boink, boom. Vikings there, and then this way I don't forget. I'll have time to remember, but we won't. Okay, so now when you say that, Adam, now you're making me look. So this is today. I did not know that this started actually today. I thought it was on Tuesday. Okay, so yes, I am going to do this, but I am not ready yet. But I will post. Thanks for reminding me. I will post sheets for the tennis and got plenty of time. The nothing is close to filling and things like that. Yeah, so that's I will do that. As a matter of fact, I might do that. I'll remember. I will definitely remember to do the tennis. And and I'll come back and I'll talk about that at some point. And I honestly, I mean, I'll probably play middling builds. I like playing middling builds in the big slates. I think you can. I think that you don't need to try to snipe these 6Ks off in the big 35 game slates. And I also am not particularly concerned about ownership in 35 game slates either. So I'll just basically run some projections and just kind of roll a little bit. 35 games, that is kind of rough. And what do you think that's going to go? How long is this slate going to last? Like 4 days? Are there going to be a lot of suspended games and all this stuff? I don't know. We'll just kind of have to see. But I guess what I can do, at least now, is take at least a quick look at the NBA and the NHL. Let's look at the NHL first. This is really just a preview. And this is like early and all that. But this is like my sheets for the NHL. Is that what's going to happen? I don't know if this is supposed to rain or anything like that. Okay, so the hockey slate, it's a small one. And not surprisingly, you're going to get like big weighting over at the top here. So it looks like Carolina and Vancouver are going to be the jam. Don't know how playable a slate like this is, but we're probably going to play it, right? So I don't know what I'm going to end up doing here, but definitely Carolina and Vancouver just really, at least they dominate my sheets for now. Let's see, what does that look like? Let's take a look at that. At that slate for a second. Let's look at NHL. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so it's one big game stack. That's it. Okay, I mean, I don't know. That's fun. One big old game stacked in Carolina and Vancouver. Is that the story? We'll see. I mean, again, I'm going to do an update on this one. And maybe there's something else to do there. Yeah, but it looks like Vancouver, and that's where all the action is. Let's just see. Just again, and I like to do this from time to time. Let me go back to SaberSim and see what I built kind of early in SaberSim. I did upload my projections to SaberSim and ran some builds here just to see what it would come up with. Let's just see what my initial build was. My initial build had, actually, it had quite a bit of Montreal, but not really the 5-mans. Basically at most 3-man stacks. Didn't have 3-man stacks in Montreal, so I guess that's the idea, is you play Montreal cheapos to get to the Carolina or Vancouver big spends, I suppose. I mean, approach 3-game slates with caution, I suppose, but I'm probably going to try it. Hey, if it's going to be Voyeur Degen Sunday, may as well fire these things. And as usual, I promise you that if there is a goalie change at a 5 p.m. slate on a Sunday, that the original goalie is going to still be 20% owned. Nobody notices. I mean, literally nobody notices. I've made the mistake. I've not noticed. Okay. Just have to remember at 4, you have time, right? It's between these games. So at 4:30, the first games are over. So I'm going to have to be looking at NBA anyway. And I'm going to have to double check hockey anyway. So I have to be able to remember, right? To check for goalies and check for outs. So I'm going to, the plan is at 4:30 to just update everything. And if I update everything, I should have the goalies and the line changes for hockey, probably have some of the NBA, and then we'll kind of just roll with that. And again, this all presumes that I'm going to make it back in time and all this kind of good Sheets World stuff. Okay, so that's the deal with the NHL. NBA, let me take a quick look at the NBA. And again, I did run sheets and posted them for the premium subscribers, but just for fun, I'll show you guys what I got here. It looks like a 1-game slate because because of all the Brooklyn value. But let's just take a look at actually how big this slate is. All right, it is a 5-game slate, and do I want to play the 1 p.m. 3-game slate for max degenship? I probably won't. I think I have my limits. It's not my limits with the Spectre. I just don't think I have time to run sheets for it. If you want to know the truth, but just for fun, let me look at this early slate. Just get an idea of what this would be if I decided to go after this. So you'd have Detroit versus New York with no real news. That's fine. You'd have 224, 220. So this would be the game, right? Golden State, Chicago. And we'll have Levine as probable. What about DeRozan? Is he back? Let's see. DeRozan. So he might be back. So we'd have to watch for that. And that's a 3:30 game. This is an interesting early slate, right? You have a 1 o'clock and then 2-3. So you'd have to make your decision here. I don't think I'm literally not going to have time to run anything for this. So I'm not going to do it. But if you want to just have extra Saberson builds and build it, I would, as usual, push everything back. Actually, let's do that just for full degens here. Let's pull up and for the early slate, and let's just see, assuming everybody is in, which we don't know, okay? Let's just see what a build would look like if you played, say, 50 lineups in a, let's look at it, 150 max build in the early slate. Yeah, I think in hockey, I think you could do that with the goalies. Who is this? Wait a minute. Who I want to know who is thank you, Washington. That is what I would like to know. Who I would be getting literally 100% of. And for some reason at 0.1% ownership. So obviously this is something that would require a little bit of digging to see what's going on here. Let's check projected score, see if that makes a difference. Even at projected score, I mean, he's projected 22 fantasy points at 3K. Maybe we're supposed to do this. Is anybody really playing this early slate? This is awesome. Is this really a guy to play? Thank you, Washington. Just in case. Just in case I want to fire this thing, then I have to remember to check DeRozan. How am I going to do this? Oh, KPJ and Jalen Green likely both out. Well, that's why. I'm probably not going to play, but just in case I do, I want to have something. There's literally no way I'm going to have time to upload a full set of sheets for this. I mean, I'm taking a walk in like 12. at like 12, 12:15, and I literally won't be back. So I'm not. Well, I won't be back for 1:15. So we can't even do this. Wait a minute. Hold on. Let's put these lineups here. Let's see something. Yeah, so I don't think I can do this, but if I do, I will probably have the thank you, Washington. Okay. Let's get to the other slate, and we'll talk about that. This is working out great. I'll be done in like 10 minutes, and then I'll probably just kind of leave this rolling, and I'll probably stop by in a little bit. So I got some horse racing stuff going on. Just basically, you're just going to see what I'm doing all day long, and we'll just kind of see what happens. My son's calling me. Okay. The parlay office is closed. No, not even remotely. I could check. Why? I could. Oh, let me. I have no. I mean, I could try. Hold on. Let me just see what I'm saying. In the middle of my thing. All right, hold on, guys. I have to do something here. After this is. Hold on a minute. Settings. You could. Let me just see something. No. 1 second. Can you wait 10 minutes, Matt? Matt? Hello? Can you wait 10 minutes? Well, all right. Just give me a few. I'll get right back to you. Okay. Boy, do I have to go? No, I can't. All right, real quick. Then NBA for later, and then I'm just going to leave this running, I guess. Or I might just refire it. We'll just leave it up, I guess. NBA for later again. So I have this. Like I said, that 1 game slate that depends on what goes on with the Nets, right? So I'll pull that up real quick. And you see like all these Nets, right? So that's what we're gonna have to look for a little bit later. Right now, if I ran my builds right now, which I did, I got probably all these guys, right? Let's see. Yeah, like 100 Brooklyn guys, and then Harden and the normal spend ups. But we will deal with that a little bit later. So what I'm going to do is I guess I'm just going to leave this, or maybe I'll just refire it at 1. Yeah, I think I am going to do that. I think I'm going to refire this at 1 o'clock and just basically just kind of let it roll, because there's going to be nothing in my DraftKings that's going to be updating until then. What I'm going to do is I'm going to disable my mic. That I'm going to do. So let's mute the mic. We'll just. What am I going to do? I'm going to end the stream and I'm going to start it again. Yeah, I'm going to end the stream and then I'm going to start it again. If anybody wants to come on, great. If not, no big deal. But I guess that'll do it for now.